We're going to start on page 25. So go ahead and go to page 25 in your grammar. Page 25. And hopefully you guys were able to either join a different class or watch the videos and stay on top of your homework. I have not caught up on my grading yet. One of my goals today, so we'll see how far I get, but I want to let you know that I see that you turned in homework and I'm going to grade those soon. We're talking about adverbs today. You guys know about that. Those usually have ly. They're telling more about the verb, or they modify the verb is how it's said here. Adverb modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. An adverb tells how, when, where, why, and to what extent. So right here in bold, and it says memorize it. I think that's a really good thing to memorize that will help you on your homework to find these words. It says how, when, where, why, and to what extent. If you can answer one of those questions, the word is probably an adverb. Different than an adjective. I'll never understand why they didn't call an adjective an adnoun, because adverb and adnoun, that would just help us so much, but they didn't. Whoever decided that decided to call it an adjective. Anyways, but we are smart, so we can remember these things, but adverb does add to the verb. So here we have ADV, you're going to write that above each ly adverb. So look at the example here. It says, the deer carefully hid in a secluded thicket. A thicket is like a lot of really thorny bushes that are in a certain area. You can hide, animals hide in there so that they can be safe from the predators, okay? But that word carefully has an ly and it's telling how he hid. Carefully hid. Hid is that verb. So it's modifying that verb. It's telling a little bit more about it. Carefully hid. So in this book, you're going to put ADV above it for adverb. And here it just says, there's a page at the back of the book that you can write your own ly adverbs on if you want. It's optional. So if you come across a great ly adverb, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's like I'm reading something, I'm like, hey, that's a really good one. I forgot about that one. If you write it down back there, then you can use it in your writing later in the back of this book, okay? We're also going to talk about the noun of direct address. That is when you have a speaking line or, characters that are talking in your story and they're talking to each other and they're saying each other's names, basically. So it says, a noun of direct address is a noun used to refer to someone directly. It names the person spoken to. It can appear at any natural pause in a quoted sentence. So here's 3 examples. Let's look at the first one. Robin, tomorrow you will win the contest, his friend said. So that word Robin is the noun of direct address because his friend is talking to Robin and he's saying his name. Robin, tomorrow you will win the contest. Look at the next example. Tomorrow, Robin, you will win the contest, his friend said. So they put it in the middle here. That's okay. It can go there. It still is a noun of direct address because his friend is talking to Robin. And then the last example says, tomorrow you will win the contest, Robin, his friend said. And it's at the end of what he said. That's okay too. It still is the noun of direct address. That's who they're talking to. Okay, so another thing to remember is the comma rule. And if you look at these 3 examples, they put the commas in bold for you, a little darker here. So notice if the noun of direct address is first, like this one, the comma goes right after that. If it's in the middle, the comma goes on both sides. If it's at the end, the comma goes before. So the basic comma rule is to always have commas around the noun of direct address. It always has a comma. So that's pretty easy to remember. Look at the very bottom here. Robin, you should enter the contest, his friend suggested. Again, it's inside a quote because he's saying it. And it's his name, the person he's talking to. And you might have a story that talks about maybe your family, and you're talking about maybe having a conversation with your mom. So you might have your character say, "Mom, what time is dinner?" Right? So mom would be the noun of direct address, even though it's not a name, it's a person, right? It's your mom. So that's an example. Noun of direct address is who you're addressing directly. Any questions about this page? If not, shake your head no for me, okay? Okay, good. A little bit more on the back. This is page 26. Homophone. Homo means same, okay? And phone means sound. So together, homophone means same sound. So we've got a homophone is a word that sounds like another word, but is spelled differently and has a different meaning. Correctly use the homophones its and its, your and your. Notice they sound the same when I say it. It sounds exactly the same. That's why it's a homophone. But they're spelled differently. One of them has an apostrophe and the other doesn't. So we're going to look at the differences here. This says its, its, no apostrophe. That actually is a possessive pronoun. Its target. The target belongs to it. Its target. That's a possessive pronoun, okay? And then, well, it says here the possessive pronoun its tells whose, and it functions as an adjective. So it's whose target? It's its target. It's here with the apostrophe, you recognize that, I'm sure, because that's a contraction. It is, right? When you see it's with an apostrophe, it means it is. So it says here, it's spring. Really, we should say it's fall, right? Because for us right now, it's fall. It is spring or it is fall. But it's spelled differently. So even though they sound the same, two different meanings there. Same with this one, your. Your is a possessive pronoun, your bow. The bow belongs to you. It's possessive. You own it. It's yours. Y-O-U-R. Whenever you own something and it's yours, it's Y-O-U-R. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E is a contraction. A lot of people mistake this. So you're not going to mess up on this though, because you know. Your is a contraction. It stands for you are. So if I say you're right, that's saying you are right. Your with an apostrophe R-E is you are. You're right. Okay. They're going to try to trick you in this book. They're going to have all these mistakes on purpose here. And you have to figure out what it should be. You're going to draw a line through it and then write it correctly on top of it. So it says, it's trying to hide, but its antlers are showing. So the first one should be, it is trying to hide, right? So it should have an apostrophe. And then its antlers, the antlers belong to it. So no apostrophe there. And then you're on your way to the archery contest. You are on your way to the archery contest. So you just draw a line through it and put the correct one on top of it. Any questions about that page? Okay. Practice page. Christian, do you mind reading the practice page for us, please?
Robin immediately took offense and challenged the forester. Sir, do you see the deer at the edge of the wood? I bet you 20 pounds that I can hit it.
Good, nice reading. So really quick, that word pounds is how they count their money or the name of their money in Europe. Okay, so different continent, really. We say dollars, they say pounds, 20 pounds. But our vocabulary word is offense, took offense. So that means resentment or emotional pain is what my book says. So if you get offended by something, you kind of are like, oh, that was offensive, right? You just are offended. Offense means when you get offended or bothered by something that somebody else says or does. Okay, that's what offense means. So Robin took offense. They were giving him a hard time, right? They were teasing him, mocking him, and he was offended by that. By the way, you can always read the story, like the whole story at the back of this book to get an idea of what's happening in the story. So that's always an option too. So let's check vocabulary. Articles, there's 4. Go ahead and find those by yourself. Mark those. Lots of those, huh? They're all those. Okay. 8 nouns. I'm going to have Harmony go next. Can you help us find the nouns in those sentences? It's kind of long.
Robin,
Good.
open,
Oh, good.
orphan, sir, dear, edge, wood, pounds.
Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, Harmony. You must have had those already done, huh? That was good. You nailed it. Good job. Pronouns. I'll have Zach do those.
Um,
Remember the pronouns?
is that fanboys? No.
No, not fanboys. That's conjunctions, but it's like he, her, or it,
yeah.
or him, or I or you. Those are also pronouns.
I at the bottom,
Okay.
another I at the bottom.
Okay.
There's 5.
Yeah.
Um, the sir one?
Sir is actually a noun, and Harmony already mentioned that, so we have N on that. So not sir, but you is one.
You?
There's a couple of those. So we'll mark those. And then at the very end, it, that's for that he's talking about the target. Obviously, a target, it's not going to be a boy or a girl, so it's a thing. But it is referring to the target.
There's one more.
Is there one more? 1,
That's
2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I think we got it.
oh no. Oh yeah, I forgot you.
Yeah, because there's 2 U's, there's 2 I's, and then it. I think we got it. How about Christian? Where's the adjective?
20.
Good. Since that was so short, I'm gonna have you do the adverb too.
Immediately.
Okay. Since that was so short, I'm gonna have you do the conjunction too.
And before challenge.
Good. And by the way, Zach, that is the fanboys. So if it helps you to write it in, fanboys, you can do that too. All right, now we're to the prepositional phrases. So Harmony, do you see those yet? Sometimes we skip those and wait till the end, but there's 2 of them in here. Prepositional phrases, or we can come back to that if you want to do that.
No. At the edge.
Oh, good. Yeah, at the edge is one. Good.
Of the wood.
Yes, of the wood. You got it. Nice. Just a little tip here, you guys. If the prepositional phrases are hard for you to spot, save it till the very last thing you do, because then it'll be easy to find it. But that's it. Good job, Harmony. How about that clause, Zach? Where's the that clause?
That I can hit it.
That I can hit it. Very good. And we're going to write that on top of it. Verbs, subject verb pairs. So verbs, Christian.
I and bet.
Okay, so bet is the verb, not I though. That's the pronoun.
But isn't that's the subject?
Oh, you're telling subject too? Okay. I thought you were just doing verbs, but that's cool. I and bet. Okay, what else?
Robin and offense took.
Robin and took is the verb. Good. What else did he do?
U and C.
Hold on, before you go too far. Robin took, but he also did something else. What's the other verb there?
Challenge.
Challenged. Good. Okay. And then you is here. I'm glad you didn't say sir, because sir is not the subject here. It's you.
And C.
And C, good. And then
One more.
you already got, oh yeah, inside the that clause.
I and hit and can.
Yes, very good. Sometimes there's two verbs right next to each other. That's a helping verb. So you're right, you got that. So even though it says four subject verb pairs, a lot of times there's more verbs than subjects because they're doing multiple things, right? But you can know that there's four subjects. But sometimes there's going to be more than four verbs, okay? Just to remind you of that. But notice, I want you to look really quick. Everything has a label except for at and of. Those are the prepositional phrases. But that's going to help you eliminate words as you go through this list. If it has a label, it's not going to have it. It's not going to have more than one unless it's a noun and a subject like that. Most of them are only going to have one label, so that'll help narrow it down for you. All right, capitals, you guys can do that by yourself. That's pretty easy. All the beginnings of the sentences. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and then I right here. I almost didn't see that one. I by itself is capital. Comma rules. What do you think, Harmony? What do we do with the commas? We have to either take them out or put them in.
Take it out.
Good. Take it out right here by offense because we're only listing two things, right? So we don't need that. What else?
Did you take one out or put it in?
Put it in.
Where? After.
Sir.
Good. That's right. And that's because it's a noun of direct address. We just learned that one because that's who he's talking to, the sir. So you're right. The comma goes right after sir because it's a noun of direct address. Good, good. And then the end mark is just a period. And when you write that period, it should go on the inside of the quotation mark, okay? Just to remind you when you're doing your punctuations. So good job. Yep, this is getting longer and longer, and you've got it. You guys are doing great. Okay. So we're done with grammar. You can put this away. You can finish writing that sentence later for your homework. And now go ahead and get out your binders and everything from your front pocket. And let's see, you guys. Double check here. Oh yeah, you guys wrote about the miller, his son, and their donkey this week. And we're done with that. But before we put it away, does anybody want to read their story to the class? You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. I don't see anybody jumping up and down. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. Eventually you'll want to, because I know we're going to get into some really good stories. So I'll give you a chance to read whenever you feel like reading. Do you want to, Christian? No? Okay, that's okay. Let's put this away then. So the first thing we're going to put away is this yellow page right here. This is from your front pocket with all the stuff we did with the miller, his son, and their donkey. This is going to go behind the tab that says model charts and outlines. So it's toward the back here. This one. model, charts, and outlines, and it's going to go behind the other yellow pages that you have in here. So go to the last part of that page and put it behind model, charts, and outlines. Just a reminder with your binder, don't pull on the rings. When you open them, don't pull on the rings. Use these tabs here, because otherwise the rings will bend and then you can't turn the pages anymore, and then that's not fun at all. While you're back here at this part of your binder, I do want you to turn to your Stylistic Techniques tab, this one. After you put away that yellow page, go to Stylistic Techniques tab. It's another yellow page like this. And you should have on yours ly adverb, who, which clause, and we're going to add one more for number 3. Double check here. We're going to add strong verb. For number 3, we're adding a new dress up here, so put in strong verb. That's number 3. This is the page we're going to just keep adding to. You can keep it in your binder, but I just wanted you to turn to it. And for number 3, you have strong verbs. So now you have 3 dress ups. You have ly, who, which, and now you have a strong verb. Okay, the rest of your papers for the miller, his son, and their donkey, all of these can go away in whatever folder or binder you have for your finished stuff. Okay, so go ahead and put all this away in your finished binder or folder. This year, we're keeping stuff in a separate binder just because we had a problem, or at least some students had a problem with their binders exploding with too much in it. All right, so put that away wherever your finished stuff goes, and then you're going to take out the next week. Put mine away too real quick. And you're going to take out week 5. That's going to be at the front of your binder at source text tab here. Oops, hold on. I already have mine out. That's why it doesn't show it there. But after the source text tab, you should see week 5, Odysseus and the Cyclops. And you're going to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. 4 pages, just kidding. 4 pages for week 5. Once you see week 6 on here, don't take that out. Leave it in your binder and make sure you close your rings, okay? 4 pages. You also need, Harmony. Oh, here she comes. So we have week 5 out is 5 pages, or 4 pages actually, and then you need a piece of lined paper. Give me a thumbs up when you got all that ready. Good, I see that, Zach. Good, Harmony. Don't forget to close those rings because stuff comes out. I hope that's not what happened to you, Christian. Okay, good. Got it? Okay. First thing we're going to look at is the blue page. So in your stack of stuff, go ahead and get out the blue page first. Banned words. Yay! You guys remember those? Good times, right? I know Zach is new to my class, but banned words, have you heard of those before, Zach? No. Okay. So banned words are banned, which means you're not allowed to use them anymore in your writing. And it's not because they're bad words. It's not that. It's because they're boring words. And it's going to force you to start thinking of better words to use. So banned words usually are overused and boring. What can I say? So the first one is say, said. So you're going to write say here and said here. So it's going to go at the very top. I turn off my light here. There we go. So at the very top of the first column, I'm trying to get my lighting right here. That's a little better. Oops, too bright. Say said. You can no longer use say said in your writing because it's overused. We can use words like yelled. And by the way, if you have any ideas, go ahead and unmute. Just tell me. We'll make a big list here. What else can we use instead of say said?
Exclaimed.
Good. I like it. Any other ideas? Replied.
Whisper.
Whispered. I like it. Questioned. If somebody's asking a question, you can say questioned. I'm making all these past tense, by the way, because most of the time our writing is in past tense, so that makes it easier. Exclaimed. I know we have explained with a P, but we could also do exclaimed. Sometimes we could use cried, like not like a boo-hoo cried, but like a he was yelling maybe or cried out. We'll stop there. That's a pretty good list so far, but there's more. There's a lot more than that. So you can add to this later. And another way to look it up, if your parents are okay with you looking it up, you can look up a Google and just say, what's another word for said? Check with them first, though, on that, but you can get a list from Google too. All right. The other one, we're going to do one more that we're banning, and it's seesaw. See, and then saw. So no longer using see or saw because it's boring and overused. So what's another way to say that you saw something? Maybe observed. Go ahead and unmute if you can think of something. I'll just keep going here. Noticed.
What?
Watched. Good. Spied or spotted. Or even really, you could use looked at. Looked at. Or stared at. It's a pretty good list right there. There's more. We'll stop there. I just want to give you a few to use if you get stuck on your writing and you are tempted to use say said or seesaw. You have a list to go off of here. This will help inspire you. So when you use one of these words, these are considered strong verbs. That's why we added strong verbs to your checklist. These are strong verbs. There's lots of strong verbs out there. So remember, a strong verb really gives the reader an image of what's going on. I always use the example, if I say the dog ran after the cat, I can say ran is the verb, right? The dog ran after the cat. But if I say the dog chased the cat, chased is even better because it gives the reader a little more of an image that the dog is right on the cat's tail, right? Over the rock, around the tree, under the car, or whatever. They're just like all over the place, right? So a verb that tells more about what's happening, a lot of times they end in ed. So that's one way to know what a strong verb is. Any questions about your band list here? Okay, you're going to just keep this with your stuff for this week, so don't put it away yet. Keep it in your stack of stuff. And let's get out your lined paper next, because we're going to set up your story sequence chart. By the way, I'm going to be nice to you at first for like a couple weeks. And if you accidentally use a banned word, I'm just going to remind you on the Google Classroom. After a couple weeks, though, if I still see some banned words, I'm going to start taking points off of your homework, okay? So make sure you watch for that. Don't use any banned words. Don't use say, said, or seesaw. It's important because your writing will get so much better without those words. Okay, go ahead and put your name here like we always do. Today's date is 10/10. Our story today is a fantasy. I will forewarn you, it's weird and a little gory. So just keep in mind it's fake. It's not real, okay? The story is not a real story. It's a made-up fiction story. But it is called, go ahead and skip a line. We're going to put the title here. It's called Odysseus, and that is a Greek god. And then we're going to put those are lowercase, by the way, Cyclops. And that's a creature. It's a creature we're going to hear about. I'm not going to give away any details yet, but not a real creature, a made-up creature. So I don't know. A lot of students like this story, but I just wanted to forewarn you that it's weird and a little gory. What can I say? Under that, let's put SSC. Who remembers what that stands for? SSC. Christian knows. What does it stand for?
Story sequence chart.
Excellent. You are right on with that. So we're going to skip a line. Let's build our chart. We're going to draw a line down. I like to put it a little to the left and have more space on the right side here. About that far. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is when we're setting up our outline. So we're going to do Roman numeral 1 over here on the right side, and then 1 through 4. Last time we did 3. We're going to do 4 this time. I'm going to give you time to write this down, okay? But you're going to skip a line after that, do Roman numeral 2, 1 through 4, and Roman numeral 3. Try to keep it nice and straight if you can. The neater you are, the better, because then you can remember for when you do your homework. It'll be clear like where everything's at. So try to keep it all lined up here on the side. So we got Roman numeral 1, 1 through 4, Roman numeral 2, 1 through 4, and Roman numeral 3, 1 through 4. All right, after you write that down, you're going to draw your lines across. They're going to go right on top of your Roman numerals. So you're just basically going to trace that line all the way to your edge of your paper. That's where I like to go. Do that right on top of Roman numeral 2, right on top of Roman numeral 3, and then wherever the bottom of your line is, all the way across. Now we have a chart. So when we first started the class, we were practicing using every sentence in our outline, looking at each sentence and picking out those keywords and making an outline with each sentence. And then last week we started with the miller, his son, and their donkey. Now we're looking at more of chunks of the story, not sentence by sentence. We're looking at whole chunks. And this is a story sequence chart. I gave the example of Kung Fu Panda, if you remember that, how they show the movie, right? And how you're introducing the characters in the beginning, and then how there's a conflict and a problem in the middle of the story. Every good story has a problem or a conflict. And you'll start noticing that when you read books or stories or watch movies, there's always a problem that they have to solve. That makes it entertaining. That's why they have that there. So in your stories, you need to have a problem in your story too that you can make up. But today or this week, we're going to look at the story Odysseus and the Cyclops. So who can tell me what we write first here in the first box? When we're telling a story, what do we introduce first? What comes first? Do you guys remember? Zach, you remember?
Who and where?
Yes. So basically characters / setting. Go ahead and write that part first. That's labeling that section there. And then you're right. We're going to answer who, where, and when. So who obviously tells us about the characters. Where and when gives us information about the setting. It's really important to start a story that way because it kind of sets that in your head. It gives you an image of the characters and the setting, and it just helps the story flow better if you start off by introducing them. And then who remembers what we talk about in the middle, this middle box here? What comes next usually? I just said it earlier. I said every good story has a,
Conflict or problem?
there we go. Thank you, Zach. Conflict / problem. This is when we ask the question, what? Basically, you're thinking about what does the character need? What does the character want? What is the character thinking? What is the character doing? It's the big main part of the story. And then what about the last box? Somebody different than Zach. What do we put here after you have the conflict and the problem? What do we talk about at the last part of the story? Do you remember? What comes at the end usually? It's 2 words we write here. One of the words starts with a C. Do you remember what it is, Christian?
Climax
Yes.
and resolution.
There you go. Resolution. Or sometimes we say solution, right? So if you have a problem, you got to solve the problem. And we're going to answer the question, how? How does this character solve the problem? The problem could be the character's lost. How is the character going to find his way? Maybe the character is hurt. How is he going to get better? Maybe it's a conflict. Maybe there's a battle, right? And they're fighting. Like in Kung Fu Panda, they're fighting. How are they going to end the fight? Who's going to win? How are they going to finish? Right? So that's what we look at here. Okay, so now we're going to read this story. It's pretty long. It's 2 pages long. But I want you to be thinking about those story elements, those chunks of information as I read this. Okay, so I'm going to just read it and we're going to talk about each part of the story sequence chart. Remember, totally fake story, fantasy, fiction, made up. Returning home from the Trojan War, the Greek hero Odysseus and his men encountered a great storm that carried them to the island of the Cyclopes. Now, Cyclopes is plural for Cyclops. So Cyclops is one, Cyclopes is more than one. These were crude, uncivilized giants who had one round eye in the middle of their forehead. They raised sheep, drinking their milk and making cheese. Okay? So we got this creature, giant, one eye in the middle of the forehead, raising sheep. I'm going to guess that these sheep are probably larger than life, I'm going to guess, but kind of odd. Okay, so let's keep going. Exploring the island, Odysseus and his friends found the cave of the Cyclops, Polyphemus, that's his name, son of Poseidon. They thought to take some milk, cheese, and lambs as supplies for their journey, but Odysseus chose to remain there, hoping to learn what kind of man this shepherd might be. Even though he calls him a man, he's a giant, so he's not a regular man, right? They were going to steal. And then they decided, you know what? Let's find out about these creatures, these giants. Let's find out what they're about. Returning home that evening, Polyphemus drove his flocks inside and pushed a huge boulder across the entrance. After he made a fire, he saw the Greeks hiding in a corner and asked them if they were pirates or traders. Odysseus responded and explained that they were certainly not pirates, but soldiers returning from a great war. The Cyclops, unimpressed with their story, caught up 2 of the men and dashed them on the ground, tore them limb from limb, and devoured them, leaving not even the bones. Okay, so gory. That's a little warning right there. Remember, fake. This is all pretend. Polyphemus then settled into slumber. That means he went to sleep. Odysseus knew that were he to kill the giant in his sleep, he and his men would surely die in the cave, since there would be no way for them to move such a gigantic rock. So they knew they couldn't kill him because they would die in there because they couldn't get out. The next morning, the giant awoke, milked his sheep, and devoured 2 more of Odysseus's men. He then left with his flocks, blocking the entrance to his cave and with the massive boulder. While the Cyclops was away, they planned their escape. They sharpened a great pole in the cave and hardened the tip in the fire. Odysseus recruited his bravest men to help implement his plan. Polyphemus returned, milked his goats this time, and devoured 2 more men. Odysseus then offered the giant a drink of sweet and strong wine that they had brought with them. It had been given to Odysseus by a priest of Apollo at Ismarus. Okay, there's more on the back here. The Cyclops drank it, enjoyed it, and asked for more, promising Odysseus a gift if he would tell him his name. Odysseus gave him the rest of the wine. My name is No One, answered Odysseus. Now my gift? Okay, I'm just going to say he's got a plan here. So obviously his name is Odysseus, but he told the giant his name is No One, and there's a reason for that. We're going to find out later. Polyphemus responded, Ha! Your gift is that you will be eaten last. He then finished the wine and fell into a sound sleep caused by the strong drink. As he was sleeping, Odysseus and his men heated the sharpened pole until it was red hot, climbed onto the giant's great chest, and with all their might thrust the sharp pole deep into the Cyclops' single eye. The wood hissed in the eyeball like hot iron hisses in water. Odysseus and his men jumped off just as the giant leapt up screaming. He tore the stake out of his eye, pushed the boulder aside, and screamed for help. Are you under attack? Asked the other Cyclops. Polyphemus cried out. No one has hurt me. Here it comes. If no one is hurting you, it must be the gods that do it, and we cannot help you against them. The giants returned to their caves, so they left him. On the 3rd day, the blind Cyclops let his sheep out of the cave one at a time. As they went by, he touched their backs, as he wanted to be sure that the men did not escape. However, Odysseus and his comrades grasped the underside of the large rams and clung to them as they left the cave, evading detection by the Cyclops. They hurried to their ship, boarded it, and rowed with all their strength. As they left, Odysseus shouted, "You are an evil beast, Cyclops, to devour strangers in your cave, and are rightly served in losing your eye. May the gods make you suffer worse than this." Polyphemus heard him and hurled a great rock into the water, which almost drove the ship back to shore, but the crew redoubled their efforts. Odysseus shouted to the giant, "I am not no one. If any ask you who put out your eye, tell them it was Odysseus of Ithaca." The Cyclops hurled another great stone. This one barely missed the ship's stern, but created a huge wave that propelled them almost to the other shore. All right, well, there you have it. Pretty weird. I can't figure out why they're raising sheep and milking them. I don't know if you've ever tried to milk a lamb or a sheep before, but I have a goat that I'm milking, and we have a system now, so it's not too bad, but I have never tried to milk a sheep. It's definitely a challenge. Just saying. I mean, this is a giant, so I'm guessing these sheep are also giant. Anyways, so let's look at our story sequence chart. We're going to start filling this out, getting it ready, because you're going to rewrite this story in your own words, so you can have fun with it. But let's look at the characters. Going back to the beginning here, we're going to kind of follow the same sequence that's in the story already. So I'll start with Zach. Looking at that first paragraph, who are the characters that are introduced first? This is page 47. Who should we mention first in our outline here?
Odysseus,
Yeah, definitely Odysseus. Okay.
his men, and the Cyclops.
His men and the Cyclops. Yep. So I think we should start with each line. Let's introduce one of those. So we have Odysseus, and remember, he's the Greek hero and his men. So maybe we could put Greek and hero. And then he's got his men that come in, right? He's got his men, or I kind of like that word comrades. Did you guys pick that up later? He calls them his comrades, which is another word for friends. So I kind of like that one. I'm going to put that here. So his comrades or his men. And they're with him. Before we introduce the Cyclops, though, it would make sense if we tell where they are. So Zach, where did they go? Where did they arrive?
They're coming back from the war, and they found a great storm that carried them to the land of the Cyclops.
So maybe we could draw like a cloud with a lightning bolt for a storm. And then you're right, island, and then Cyclops. So Polyphemus comes in a little bit later, but in that first paragraph, I'm going to have you keep going with this, Zach. It describes these giants, like creatures, and what words can we use to describe what they look like?
Oh, crude, uncivilized.
Yeah.
And then we could write one eye.
Yeah.
Well, we could write one and then put like an eye.
Oh, that's a good one. Crude. I wonder if you know what crude means?
Not really.
Okay. crude is like rude. I mean, you can see the word rude in there, but crude is like they maybe have foul language. Like they're just sounds like they're just kind of like angry at everything, irritated, just unhappy. So crude just means like they're just rude, but also they say bad words. Like they're just not somebody you want to be around, right? So that's basically what crude is. And so uncivilized kind of means the same thing. So I'm going to pick crude and then not use uncivilized. Uncivilized is basically the same thing though, because when you're civil, you are kind, you use good words, they make sense. If you're uncivilized, you don't even make sense half the time and you're using a bunch of foul language and it's just, not appropriate. We'll say that. All right. And you also said about their eye. So maybe like one and then draw an eye, I think you said. I kind of like that idea. My eye always looks like SpongeBob's eye because that's all I know how to draw. One eye. It also mentions that they're giants. So I think I'll put that. And that they are shepherds, which is also odd, but it's kind of important because the sheep come in later. So I'm going to put shepherds. Just to keep in mind as you're building this story sequence chart, when you go to write your story, you don't have to use the exact word you have here. If as you're writing, you think of a better word to use, as long as you're keeping with the same plot, the same idea on how you want this to go, you can change up these words as you go. These are basically notes for you to remember how the story went. So Zach, actually, let's move on to Christian. Where are these? We haven't mentioned the Cyclops yet. I feel like we should mention Polyphemus was his name. So let's put his name next. Poly. And Christian, where does Polyphemus live?
In a cave?
Yeah, in a cave with his sheep. Maybe we could put his sheep in there. And when he gets into his cave at the beginning, this is the second paragraph. What does he do when he gets it back in the cave? He does a couple things. I'm looking at this second paragraph here.
He found them in a corner?
Yeah, you're right. Right before that, he made a fire. I think that's important. So he built a fire, and then you're right. He saw the men, the Greeks in the corner. So how could we put that on our outline? What do you think, Christian?
Well, fire, binoculars, and then Greeks. That would work.
Yeah. Oh, you said built fire?
Built fire or fire just works.
Fireworks, yeah. And then maybe you said binoculars, which I don't know how to draw those.
2 circles.
2 circles? Okay. I guess like that. And then maybe Greeks and then corner. What do you think about that?
That works.
Okay. The Greeks are the comrades or the friends of the hero. And he saw them in the corner of the cave. So we got Odysseus, we've got Polyphemus, which is the Cyclops. I wonder if we should put a little C right here next to Polyphemus, so we know that's the Cyclops name is Polyphemus. And so we got this setting and the characters pretty lined up here. This is good. So now we're going to start moving into the conflict and the problem next. Harmony, do you remember what the Odysseus says when he sees the men in the corner? What does he ask them? I think it's in that second paragraph. Right after when he sees them hiding in the corner, he asks them something. It's right here if you want to read it on my screen.
They were pirates.
Or
Or
See the word?
traders.
there you go. So he asked them if they were pirates or traders. So we could say C for the Cyclops, right? And then we could put pirates, question mark. And then what did Odysseus say right after that, Harmony? So he asked them if they were pirates or traders. And then right after that, it tells how he responded. Who are these people? They're not pirates, but they're
Soldiers.
soldiers. There you go. So Odysseus, I'm going to use an O here. By the way, maybe to help us, we can circle that in our title, O and C, so we know who we're talking about. When we use a C with a circle, we're talking about the Cyclops, which is Polyphemus, sorry. And when we use O with a circle, we're talking about Odysseus. So he said, soldiers. And they were coming home from war. Okay. This is kind of we did this before in the last year's class, but this is a little bit different way to build these outlines. You remember I said you're looking at chunks of information. So we already got the first one done. So your homework is going to be really just to finish these two, Roman numeral 2 and Roman numeral 3. I'm not going to have you write yet because I want to see what you come up with. Okay, so everything in this box should really talk about the conflict. So we're leading into it, right? They said we're not pirates, we're soldiers. And then all of a sudden, remember the Cyclops eats the guys, two of them, right? So now that the problem is coming into play here because these men are dying. And then they devise a plan on how to escape the cave. That's what you're going to talk about here is how they came out of that cave. So your job this week for your homework is just to finish this outline. Remember, only 3 words per line, but you can use symbols and numbers and abbreviations for free. So you finish the outline. And then we'll work on writing it next week. Okay, any questions about the homework? You guys are good? No questions, and you guys are good. I asked you a yes or no, and everybody's like, wait, yes, no? I think you're good. All right, you guys, good job. I will see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.